What is good, everybody? It's your boy Piston Mike. Make sure you like, share, man, comment, and sub to your boy. It's for free. 70% of you guys are not subscribed, and I don't know why. Because I put out heat. I put out this content for y'all. Come on, man. Sub to y'all boy. But today, we got a very, very special episode with one of the Piston writers. I've been doing videos with him for a minute now, a couple episodes. It's been going well. I absolutely love doing this with this guy. He knows a lot of good information. Make sure you go check him out at at DetroitBadBoys.com. Excuse me. Make sure you go check out his articles, man. He's a guy with great information. Yeah, man. For sure. For sure, for sure. Can't wait. We gonna get this done, man. It's a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of different stuff going on. So we're going to see what's going to happen, which deals that we like best for the Pistons, man. So I'm going to go ahead and get them in here, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get them in here. Do What's going on? What's going on? How you doing?
All right, man. Just as semester ended here, so I'm all done with grading and just ready to focus on Pistons for a while.
Okay, that's all good with you. When do you got to go back? Not until probably.
January 12th, so Arizona starts again January 12th. Yeah.
All right. Dope. Let them know where they can find you. Plug yourself.
So yeah, I'm Steve Pelletier again. I'm on DetroitBadBoys.com. I'm one of the writers there, contributors there. Excuse me. So definitely check out my stuff. I mainly focus on the draft, but recently I've done stuff on trade market things and like first big board up. So we'll see what's coming up next is like thinking about if the Pistons could get involved in like the Ben Simmons deal. Not that they would deal for Ben Simmons, because I personally think it's a bad idea, but if they would be the third team involved, because, I think it's going to be hard for them to move Ben Simmons, Philly, that is, when I say them, and get something they want out of it, because the reports have been that Morey wants like an all-star plus picks, and it's just like nobody wants Ben Simmons right now, right? So I think it's going to end up being one of these like multiple team deals to get something for everybody that they want. And maybe
Absolutely.
the Pistons can help out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good thing. But make sure you go check him out. He works hard. He's got good articles. I do videos on him here and there, for sure. Um, you know. So, but I thought we should talk about the trade packages, and so I can plug it for you, so I can plug it and put in a link description.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
No problem. Anytime. We gotta help each other out, because
Yeah.
but what do you think is the absolute best trade scenario for the Pistons? The best they can get for Jerami Grant. The absolute best.
I personally think the best comes from the Grizzlies. I don't know if they would do this because they've been doing good, so I'm not sure that they want to like mess up the chemistry or whatever. But I think it's Jerami Grant plus Trey Lyles for Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark, and then Memphis owns 3 first-round picks this year. They own their own. They own the Utah Jazz, and it's top 5 protected. So, that's one of them. And then they own the Lakers unprotected pick. So they got 3. And I would personally try and get 2 of them, because it's like you already know Jerami Grant's going to be better than anybody that those, especially the Jazz's pick. Like that's like whatever, right? That's going to be close to 30, if not 30, because the Jazz are that good. And then whoever finishes better, the Lakers or the Grizzlies. Right now, it's looking like the Grizzlies would. So I would ask for their own pick and that Jazz pick. And then that would be it. So the Pistons will get back Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark, and then 2 first-round picks. They're both going to be in like the late half post-lottery there. But I think that's going to be the best that they can do, because there's not really a player out there that seems to be on the move other than Ben Simmons and like maybe Russell Westbrook. But again, those are bad fits with Cade, the Cade team. You want to find guys that can support him. And Kyle Anderson's fine. He's solid. He's another forward that can slot into to Jeremy's position. He's learned to shoot the three better. He can facilitate some. He's a big dude that's like 6'9", 230, who's another good wing defender. Definitely doesn't have the production of Jerami Grant, which is why I think, Memphis would jump on that to be able to produce him. And then Brandon Clark, they need that lob threat, right? I mean, that's just something that the team has been missing. Hamadou does it, but he's still a guard, and you don't want your guards to be your only lob threat. And Brandon Clark is a great screen setter, a great switch defender. Like he and Beef Stew can platoon at the center this season and next. And I'm somebody who doesn't want them to really like spend a high draft pick or spend a lot of money on the center position. So I think it's good. And in the article that I wrote, I didn't propose this trade because I was kind of holding off on it to talk about it here for one, as to why it's the best deal. And in the piece, though, I did say Josh Jackson for Brandon Clark because I do think Brandon Clark kind of the odd man out there in Memphis. He plays like the 10th most minutes on the team. And then last year they drafted my guy, Xavier Tillman Sr. from, Michigan State. Those state guys are good. And then this year they drafted Santi Aldama out of Loyola, Maryland. And then last year they also picked up Killian Tilly, who's another center / power forward. So they have these three other guys kind of in the waiting. And those other guys do more things than Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark is more traditional big man, post up, down low, rim run, lob threat, defend. Whereas Xavier he's a really good passer for a big guy. He can distribute, facilitate out of the low block. Okay shooter, like he's still developing there, but both Santi Aldama and Killian Tilly are profile as like legit stretch bigs. So I think Brandon Clark is more gettable than maybe what the outside might think. But I think, again, definitely, to me, that's the best pick that I think the Pistons could get is Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark, and 2 first-round picks for Jerami Grant. What do you think?
I would agree, but another one that's got me enticed. I don't know if it got you enticed. I would take Anthony Simons from the Blazers and Nazir Little or Nazir.
Yeah, Nazir, yeah.
And I forgot it was somebody else. Or maybe a pick because they got a high pick. They got the 7th pick?
Well, the only thing with them is they traded their pick already this year. I think Chicago owns their pick right now for this year. So that's off the table. And because they traded their pick this year, they can't just outright trade their pick next year. So they would have to do a pick swap because they were one of the ones, Portland was one of the ones I was trying to finagle because I think a 2023 pick would be good since that's when Scoot Anderson and Victor Wembanyama come out. So the more chances at that, the better. I just and Simons, the only thing with Simons is how does he fit in with Killian and with Cade here? Because he's definitely a point, right? That'd be my only thing. And is he better than Saben Lee? I mean, maybe. And I think that's just the hard part with any guard that they want to bring in is we don't have any idea what Killian and Saban's kind of long-term potential and future is. And my main thing with any trade going forward is does this take the ball out of Cade's hands? With the Ben Simmons thing, which is why I was does it take it out of his hands? Oh, yeah, it takes it out of his hands a lot. Okay, I don't want to do it then because Cade would be getting as much shine as possible, especially if Grant goes.
That would be one I would definitely entertain. I'm not going to lie because I think Anthony Simons, if he were to get a real opportunity, I think he would ball out here. I really I believe him that much. Nazir Little is just like a role player. He's just going to, probably hit a couple shots, be good on the defensive end. That's pretty much it. But that'll be one. Another one people might not like I would definitely think about doing the Jerami Grant for Myles Turner trade. I would absolutely do it. I would do
Me too.
Yeah,
I think that it's so much better, and especially with the comments that Myles Turner said recently where he's they don't believe in me. They just think I'm just a whatever role player. I mean, let him come in and just jack threes and put up shots. And we already know he's a good defender, which is, and the team doesn't have very good size down low. I mean, I still love beef stew, but it just seems like the more we see of him, the more he's a sixth man, right? Like an energy dude to bring off the bench. And he's the one that's tough for me because, like, you can tell they don't really game plan for whatever his skills are. And, like, I'm not asking them to run post ups for him or anything, but he's not, like, that great of a screen setter yet. So they're not really running him in pick and roll as much. And he's not developing as a shooter. But again, I don't know if that's like coaching that they're telling him not to do it or if he's just not doing it himself. So I do think another center would be good for him to like continue. And Turner has, I believe he has 18 million this year and next year. So at least
Mhm.
give the team time for Beef Stew to figure out like, okay, what exactly are you?
And he's young. He's younger than
Yeah,
Grant, and he's been in the league for some time. That's the thing. He's younger. I believe he don't turn 26 until May.
yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think he's like 24, 25. Yeah, I've always liked him too. I thought he was. I remember back when the team had Drummond, there were a couple of us at Detroit Bad Boys that were like, they should draft him because then you have the stretch guy with Dre and then didn't work out. But I've always liked Turner. I think that's a good fit too. The only thing with that is like I'm not sure where Indy's at. This whole like rebuild thing. I'm not sure if they really want to just blow it up and get picks, but it's odd too. I don't know what exactly they want is the thing. That's just the tough part to gauge. I think it makes sense for everybody though. Like if Indy really didn't want to just like get a bunch of picks, then like Grant next to Sabonis is perfect because then you have your actual power forward. Sabonis can go back to center, so he doesn't have to run and chase dudes around that play the four like LeBron and KD. And Grant can shine there like he always does, and put up more shots.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you though, like if since we know the Pacers are like putting out their guys, what do you think about Brogdon or Levert?
I like both of them. I'm not gonna lie. I like Karis LeVert, but to me, gambling on him is kind of risky because he's kind of been known to have an injury history. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie,
I agree.
and that's kind of scary. I mean, will he be a guy? It depends on what you can get him for, though. If you could get him for a low value, I would think about it. But if they trying to sell him high, no way, I'm not doing it. But Malcolm Brogdon is kind of interesting. I don't think he's got an injury history. I think he's a very solid player. It all depends if you could get him for a decent. I wouldn't mind if they did a little bit more for Brogdon. I think how old is he though? Is he like 28? I think he's
I
28.
think he's like 28. Yeah, he's pretty close to 30.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind it. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind it. What about you though?
Yeah, I'm almost the exact same way. Whereas like Levert, not only I mean, I was at Michigan from 2012 until just this past summer, so I saw the whole Karis Levert experience there. Pretty familiar with him, but yeah, injury history and like he needs the ball in his hands. Again, that's the whole like does this take the ball out of Cade's hands? And I think that's kind of a yes.
Mm,
For Levert. If he was more of an off-ball shooter, I think it might be worth it. But I think you're right. Like if it was like throwing Josh Jackson and like another expiring deal, like Stray Labs, I think as a team
mm,
option, something like that, where they just want cap space, then yeah, why not give it a chance, right? This team needs
mm.
as much talent as possible, especially shot creators. Yeah, but if it was like centered around Jerami Grant, then it's like no thanks, I'm keeping Grant. Yeah, Brogdon is it's tough because his percentages since he left Milwaukee are not that great. Like he was 50, 40, 90 that last year he was in Milwaukee, right? He looked like the advanced stats god, right? Like this dude doesn't waste shots, whatever. And he wanted to go to Milwaukee or he wanted to get out of Milwaukee, excuse me, so he could be in a more feature role. And he hasn't been bad, but he's shooting like 30% or something like that from three. So, and I'm not sure like what he wants his role to be either, because he can play either point or off ball at shooting guard. And that would be just like I would have to meet with him to be like, yo, man, like Cade's here. He's the guy. Like, are you okay with going back to being more of like a shooting guard? And again, I think Killian Hayes like factors way too much into these trades with
Mm.
guards because again, it's like, are we pushing him back to the bench? Which I don't think is a bad idea, but I just feel
Mm.
like Casey doesn't want to do that for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
yeah, Brogdon too is like again, I think it's the right deal. If it was for Jerami Grant, I would probably say no, just
Mm.
because I don't think. I mean, Grant's younger for one, and I think he plays like a more premium position, and he's more efficient. So I would probably have to say no if it was for Grant.
Yeah. I will 100% agree on you, but the worst trade I've probably seen, I don't like it. Is probably to the LA Lakers. For Tellen Horton Tucker, I think Kendrick Nunn, and it's like no pick attached or whatsoever. They came to tax a pick until like 2026. I'm like, get that out of here, dude. Don't get me wrong. Tellen Horton Tucker is a very solid player, but he ain't nothing special. Kendrick Nunn is a very good player, but he ain't nothing special. It's like you getting two role players and you not getting nothing special in the draft pick. If I want, here's the thing: if I'm getting rid of Jeremy Grant, I'm getting two players that can eventually be like a I want to say a star, and probably a pick that's in the 20s. That's what I want, and like outside the lottery, inside the lottery somehow. That's what I would want from him. I don't know if anybody disagrees or not, but that's what I would want. So.
Yeah, I agree 100% too. And especially for a team like the Lakers or the Bulls is another one. Like if we're giving you Jeremy Grant, then we're basically essentially giving you a deep playoff run, right? Because
Mm.
that's your missing piece. And so that's where like I have faith in Troy Weaver to like then basically squeeze these teams that need that extra wing defender to be like, yo, man, if you want to make a deep playoff run, you got to give me everything you can give me then, like nothing off the table. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Like, because yeah, you're right, exactly with that Taylor Horton Tucker and Kendrick Nunn. It's like, what are you really giving me? Like, you're giving me nothing to ensure that you're most likely going to make the finals. Hang up the phone, you know? And same with the Bulls. Like, the Bulls, it would have to start with Patrick Williams and Kobe White, right? Because it's like, okay, here are your two lottery picks that like you are not really one is injured, so you're not playing him. Obviously, the other doing anything with like the deal has to start with those two, and then maybe they can squeeze them for another pick. Because again, you're essentially giving them a deep playoff run, right? That's why there's no other way to put it, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would. That's another trade that I think I would entertain. I don't think people
Same.
understand. I think Kobe White would be good. If he's not anything else, he's a six-man guy, can come off the bench and give you absolute buckets. And
Yeah.
if we would have him right now, trust me, we will win some more games. Absolutely. Because I don't think Saban is ready for that yet. I do love Saban Lee, don't get me wrong, but or you never know. I don't know if Kobe White could start with Cade. I don't know. I think he need the ball too much for that, but it's a possibility. You never really know. I do like Patrick White too. I mean, yeah, if we would get him for that, he would definitely be our forward of the future that could start right next to Grant. I think it would be a perfect fit. You know what I'm saying? Give us a long, definitely a long wings, and
Yep.
so that would be scary.
Yeah,
But
the thing with Kobe White too, he can play either the one or the two. Like he's not really a traditional point guard. So yeah.
mm, yeah, but definitely. Is there any other trade you want to talk about, or?
The only other one that I personally like that I know a lot of people would most likely be resistant to is San Antonio. So you send San Antonio Jeremy Grant, and I believe it's Josh Jackson for Thaddeus Young and Devin Vassell. I'm really a big Devin Vassell guy. Like he's one of the best defenders a lot of people evaluated last draft cycle in 2020. I mean, he's an awesome like Tayshaun Prince type of player where he's not going to waste shots. He's a good 3-point shooter, but he's that guy that can defend 2 through 4. And he's like incredibly smart team defender. Like and I was evaluating his film, that's what really bumped him up. He's not much of a like shot creator, but again, I think Tayshaun Prince type of player where it's just so invaluable and he just gives you such defensive versatility and he's such a smart defender too to where he's almost like a Matisse Thybulle, except Matisse Thybulle like is more on instinct where he jumps passing lanes because he just kind of feels it out. Whereas Vassell, you can see he knows how to jump passing lanes without collapsing the integrity of the defense, which is incredibly difficult, right? Like he knows how to use his length to just kind of get in there and then get the ball without having to jump it, and then all of a sudden his guy is open. But man, incredibly wrecking defender. He's shooting something like 40 something percent from three right now. More developing on the offensive side. But again, I think this is a more long term thing. And again, it doesn't take the ball out of Cade's hands. But again, I understand why this one most people would probably be resistant to it because Vassell isn't at the level of like a Patrick Williams for most evaluators, and you're not getting any other extra picks for it, and then you're basically giving Grant to San Antonio. So I understand on that end why people might, but I think Vassell is a really big difference making, again, Tayshaun Prince type of player. And I just don't know that Grant will ever be that or if he's going to buy into that.
Yeah. That's definitely interesting. I give you that. That's one I haven't seen people talk about that much. I wouldn't, not gonna lie, I would definitely entertain it for the reasons that you said. I would entertain it. One thing that people don't understand, and I've brought this up, Jerami Grant, he's I think the 18th most player with the isolations, and he scores only about 28% of the time with the
Oh,
isolations.
really?
Yeah, he actually has more isolations this year than I think Zach LaVine and Devin Booker, and he scores less with the.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, part of it is just the Pistons need it, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what I'm saying, they don't got another scorer with them, but I think that's the main reason. And I told people this, I predicted this before it happened. I said with Jeremy Grant being out, Sadiq Bey going, that he had is gonna go completely away, and exactly did. The last 3 games he been on fire. I told people he was going to ball out, and he has. I knew it.
Yeah, yeah, same. I mean, I tweeted out a couple weeks ago, like any Piston fan calling for Sadiq or Killian or any of these guys to be traded. It's like, have we not learned our lesson from Chris Middleton and Spencer Dinwiddie? Right? It's like, come on, let them just take their lumps, work through it, and then by the end of it, he's going to be solid, man. So I agree. And last 3 games, he's scored over 20 points in each game, and like just finally turned it back on from three. I think that's just the main thing was he just looked hesitant in a lot of those games where he was like thinking about shooting and then he put the ball on the floor and move like 2 steps and then shoot it. And it's like, what are you doing, man? Just let it rip. And that's what he's been doing now, right? Just like no hesitation, take it straight to the hole. If you got to step on a dude, just put your shoulder into him, make him foul you. If you catch it, above the 3 point line, just let it go. Who cares? Because that's where you're good at. And that's what it seems like it is.
Yeah, I absolutely love Jeremy Grant, but you can see, like I tell people, when you got somebody who is that much a part of offense and you got that much more shots now, players gonna get that more touches and they're gonna be feel comfortable to do whatever they need to do to score. They're gonna feel okay, all this
Yeah.
is open. I don't gotta think about twice. Oh, what about Jeremy Grant? He needs his shot or whatever. I'm just gonna take it. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I think part of it has been on Casey too, to where it's been almost like a let's take turns offense rather than like let's figure out how to get everybody involved. Because especially with Grant, it was like, okay, now we're going to run the actions for Grant, and he's going to come off this curl, or like, okay, now he's going to get it in isolation. Everybody just stand back, and like nobody else has anything to do until Grant decides what to do. So, yeah, I definitely feel you on that for sure. Because now it's just more like, all right, everybody, you know, get up. We need shots. This is what you're going to do. Just be confident. Let it go.
um um one trade that I would entertain, but I don't think the Warriors is going to do it. I would take the Moses Moody trade
Yeah.
and the James Wiseman. I would do it, but my thing is, um, the reason why I kind of don't like it. I love Moses Moody. I think Moses Moody would be good on this team. And not only that, Moses Moody was teammates with Cade. But James Wiseman kind of scared me. I ain't gonna lie, because he's been hurt more than he has played. So I think that's a problem. I think he froze. Well, yeah, I would definitely think about doing that if I was you guys. So yeah, but James Wiseman kind of scares me just because he's injured a lot, and I don't know. I don't know if it would happen. I'm gonna be real. I don't know if it would happen. Um, hold on, hold on. Let me get him back in here. But I don't know if it would happen. I don't think they would do it. Is it working?
Sorry about that technology sometimes, right?
Yeah, I feel you. But I don't think it would happen. I don't think the Warriors would do it. They kind of set. But like I said, I like Moses Moody a lot. But James Wiseman kind of scares me because he's always.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to entertain that, I mean, it would be a good trade. But you would be banking on. You would think Wiseman will become your center of the future. I just don't know because he's hurt all the time.
Yeah, I agree. And also, it goes back to the whole thing I was saying about the Lakers and the Bulls. And I think it's even more for them because I'm like, okay, now you have Steph, Clay. Hopefully, Clay is healthy, man. I love the Warriors team anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond, and they're still like the best team in basketball. And it would seem you're basically gifting them a finals appearance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Moody and Wiseman. I don't think it's actually. I actually, when I'm talking about it now, I don't think that's even enough because it's like, how much is a finals appearance worth to you, right?
Right.
Like Moody, you could have taken earlier and you didn't, and
Mm-hmm.
all these people passed him over, so they think he's probably more of a role player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Wiseman, yeah, everybody's kind of up in the air on Wiseman. So I honestly think it's not enough because I'm with you on Wiseman. I don't know. I don't get a good feeling about him. And it's just because we haven't seen much of him. I think that's the biggest issue. Is just he was hurt in college, or he wasn't hurt in college. He had that stupid violation,
Mm-hmm.
so he didn't get to play, and then he got hurt last year. So like we don't have any idea what he can do and what his long-term potential is based off of what he's been able to do. So yeah, it's that one just seems like too lopsided for Golden State, I think. But yeah, again, I maybe would want them to throw in some picks or something else and maybe think about it. But I also don't think it's the best one for the Pistons, really.
Would you take?
Just 'cause, like you said with Wiseman, it's so uncertain because now you might be upsetting Beef Stew, and is he really any? I mean, he's bigger than Beef Stew, right? But we don't even know if he's that much better.
Oh yeah, that's true. Would you take it if they threw in Jonathan Kuminga?
Yeah, probably,
Mm-hmm.
probably just because I think Kuminga's a good athlete and like he's got that Kawhi Leonard potential. Like you don't really know where he's going to fit in um, quite yet, but he's an athlete and like he just makes these plays every now and then that are big time. And between him and Moody, it seems like that's enough of having at least two guys that you think can work with Cade. Moody, we already know can work with Cade because he played with him in high school at Montverde Academy, so they already have a rapport there. That's just now working. And Kuminga to be that power forward, but he is in a situation there where he's going to succeed because Killian looks like a good shooter. Moody looks like a good shooter. We already know Cade can be a good shooter. We know Sadiq can be a good shooter. So now he's got all these guys around him. And if we're keeping Frank Jackson, then there's another good shooter. So there's all these guys around him to at least help him there to where he's not having to just jack up shots and do things quite out of his comfort zone yet. So yeah, I probably would just because I think Kuminga at least has big time potential to be something at the level of Jerami Grant, if not more.
Okay, bet I would too. But if you had to make a bet, when do you think Jeremy Grant is going to get traded, and where do you think he's going to get traded? If you had to place a bet, you said out of all these other teams, I know for sure Jeremy Grant's going to get traded to either. Matter of fact, I'm going to even put out a better scenario. Out, it'd be two teams. What are the teams likely you think he's going to end up on? Out of two.
Well, if I had to bet, like when he's going to get traded, I would have said at the end of the season. But now with all these rumors, like it's just getting reported more and more that he's like the most available guy. And even if he wanted to stay here long term, it just seems like the best in the Pistons' best interest to like milk somebody for all that he's worth. Since I don't want to say he's like the best name available, but he's probably the hot commodity and also easier to get than somebody like Ben Simmons, right? Um, and even somebody like Russell Westbrook, who's been kind of shopped out there, like that money is ridiculous to try and match. And even then, I think there's very few teams that would want to take on Russ. So yeah, I think Grant is like got to be the number one guy just for a combination of skills and availability. So I think it's definitely this season before the trade deadline. Atlanta is the number one that I would bet on because they are primed for like panic trade. They're locked into so much long-term money. They need somebody to help them get out of that. The Pistons can do that too and send them a player that they need because if they really want to make a playoff run, they don't have anybody that can defend KD or Giannis, right? Where Grant, you already have film of him doing it. Not anybody can stop Giannis and KD, but there are like 5 to 10 guys that have the combination of size, athleticism, and IQ to even try. And Grant's one of them. So they probably got to send back Gallinari to get rid of that money because he's like owed $20 million. And he's a good fit. I mean, he's just a solid three-point shooter forward. So there's at least that. And then like pick their pocket from Reddish to DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter. You know, those guys seem expendable, right? Mm-hmm. And again, if you're wanting to make that next push, then guess what, man? You got to give me everything. The only problem with that is I was listening on a Game Theory, Sam Vecini's podcast, and it was last week, and they were talking about trades with Dave DeFore, and they were reporting that Atlanta wants a first-round pick for Cam Reddish. And if that is really what they want, then it's pretty much like off the table at that point because, you know, Pistons ain't giving up first-round picks. But that also seems kind of stupid because they were also reporting that Atlanta just wants to get out of the salary cap issue that they backed themselves into. And to me, that seems like the best case because I think Atlanta is in like 9th or 11th place right now, and they don't seem like they're going to improve much, right? It's Collins and Trae Young, and then everybody else just kind of fills in here and there. So that they would be one, and you know, Lakers and Portland too would be the other ones, but I think they would need to get a third team involved because they're desperate too, right? Damian Lillard is like they're doing everything they can to push him out the door, even if he wants to be there, right? Like they just have not improved enough, and they need to do something, and they're going to do whatever it takes. I don't really want CJ because again, I don't think that's good long term for the Pistons. But if they could get a third team involved to give them like a bunch of picks or somebody interesting like a Kuminga or something like that, then definitely I think they would be it. And again, the Lakers are always desperate and fools because they think they can just magically do whatever they want. I don't diss on too many fan bases, but the Laker fans, just because it's a long history of being spoiled, man. You don't get to go to the finals every year. So those would be the three teams I think. And the Lakers and Portland, I think they need a third team involved, but I think they are so desperate to do anything to improve themselves that they could make it happen. But Atlanta would probably be my number one bet because, again, they don't have anybody that as a wing defender to go up against Giannis and KD in the playoffs, and they need it. They need it desperately. I think they were hoping it was going to be Hunter and Reddish, but I don't know that they're quite ready for that yet, you know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think when it comes down to it, yeah, I don't know who's gonna pull. It's kind of hard because you said them teams are very desperate. I can definitely see that. I wonder who. Do you got a team that's a dark horse that nobody talks about? Like a dark, like
San Antonio. That's why I brought up that trade because I think. Like, what are they even doing? And in their middle of their lineup, they have at the wing position, they just drafted Josh Primo, They have Joe Wieskamp, who they also drafted. They have Lonnie Walker. They have Derek White. They have Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and maybe I'm forgetting somebody else in there. But they just have a logjam of dudes at the wing, and they're not going anywhere either. And they also don't have anybody at the power forward, really. They're starting Doug McDermott, Keldon Johnson, and occasionally Thaddeus Young, I think. Like they just been rotating those guys, and none of those guys are like Keldon Johnson's good, but he's not starting at the 4 long term. Like he's a 3, right? And then Thaddeus Young's on an expiring deal, and what's his face? They're Doug McDermott, like he's a backup, right? Something's got to give there eventually, and like that's honestly the saddest power forward spot maybe in the league. And again, that might be another one where you are just like, hey man, like you guys suck at that spot, and I'm giving you this guy. You got to give me something else. And to me, I think Vassell is like a premium prospect where it's like, okay, I need him at least because they're not giving up Keldon Johnson. He seems to be one of Pop's favorites since he picked him for Team USA over the summer. They're actually playing Lonnie Walker more than they're playing Devin Vassell right now, even though he's 3-point shooting is not that great. And then Derek White's starting long. I mean, he's locked in at the long term. And then Josh Primo, they just drafted, so I don't think he's moving. So it seems like Vassell would be the one to ask for because, again, just based off minutes and like who they just drafted, he seems to be kind of stuck in the middle. So he'd be the one that I would ask for. And again, I think they're the one that definitely they need somebody at that 4 to where Grant would fill a big need for them. And I think they're a dark horse out there. But again, I don't really know what they're doing, and I don't think anybody does.
Yeah. My thing is, when do you think people are going to start making trades? Because I know people, the trade that the start of the trade season was December 15. When do you think trades are going to start being made? Do you think it's going to be like New Year's?
Probably closer to like January 15th because that's when the guys that signed extensions with their teams. So like Gary Trent's a good one. He signed an extension with Toronto, but he was on Toronto's roster. So when you sign that extension with the team you're already on, then you can't be traded until January 15th. So I think it's probably closer to that date to where there are a couple of guys like that could be moved as well. And that's another deal that I don't think gets really talked about as Gary Trent or Jerami Grant. So that might be another possibility, but that's another one where I have zero idea what Toronto's doing, and it seems like they wouldn't do that just because Gary Trent's younger and they just traded for him last year, so it seems like they wouldn't. But it's another possibility where the money will work.
Yeah, Gary Trent. Hey man, I'll do that deal tomorrow.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, I would too.
Absolute baller. And I think he wouldn't take the ball out of Cade.
No way. Yeah, he'd be like, I think he would fit Grant's role better actually, where he's coming off like pins and screen downs because Grant will come off of curls and then like pin downs, but he'll come off them to drive in or to run his little ISOs and shimmies and stuff. Whereas Trent is just like, I'm catching this, I'm shooting it. So
okay. One last topic before we end it. Do you think what trades do the Pistons make and who do they get?
Man, putting me on the spot. I mean, I think they got to trade Josh Jackson, and I think they got to trade Jerami Grant at this point. Because again, like we said with Grant, like it's just too good of an opportunity to pass up at this point. Since it seems like a lot of people need him, not just want him, but need him. And then Josh Jackson is an expiring deal, so why not go out and get somebody to free up some money, like a Buddy Hield? Like I don't know if the Kings would do that, but like if you could trade Josh Jackson for Buddy Hield just to get them off of that money and that weird relationship they've had so far, then why not do it? Something like that. So I think they definitely need another shooter and they need another big man. So that's probably where they end up. Somebody like Buddy Hield and somebody like a Brandon Clark. That's where they probably end up because that's what they need. Anyway, though, I got to get going because I got a call on the other end. But I love chopping it up with you, so we'll have to do this more during this break.
Oh, definitely. Just let me know. I'll let you know when I'm free. We got a couple things. Whatever next you want to talk about, we can talk about next. So it's up to you.
You got it, man.
All right.
Thanks again, though. I love it.
Love it. Peace.